I'm Catherine Martin, founder of QuietTime Ministries. Every day, I have the privilege of meeting alone with the one who actually created me, who made the world. His name is Jesus. He is King of Kings and Lord of Lords. And this is my quiet time. Have you discovered the power of words in your life and in the lives of others? Have you ever experienced a kindness from someone that literally poured into your life as a magnificent gift of God's grace? Paul has something to say about it in Colossians 4, verses 5 and 6. Listen to these words. He says, "Conduct yourselves with wisdom toward outsiders, making the most of the opportunity. Let your speech always be with grace, as though seasoned with salt, so that you will know how you should respond to each person." I was in a meeting some time ago with about 30 other men and women, some pastors, and while we were there, my phone rang. I could tell it was from the assisted living place where my mother was living at the time. So I left the meeting, I went into another room and answered the phone. It was the director of the place saying that they had called an ambulance and that my mother was being rushed to the hospital. She had had a reaction to some medication possibly. And she wasn't dying, but she needed to go to the emergency room to be helped. She said that the ambulance would be there in a few minutes. So I hung up with her. I called my brother. He said he would meet my mother at the hospital. So there I was in my own private emergency. No one knew. There was nothing I could do but wait to see what would happen with my mother. So I went back into the meeting. One of the guys said jokingly, "Well, there's Catherine, always getting phone calls." I just looked at him. He had no idea, and I was just speechless. Well, after the meeting, I walked out of the place, and one of the girls came out and said, "Catherine, I'd like to pray for you." And she held on to my shoulders and she prayed the most beautiful prayer for me. I started to cry. I just knew how much God loved me and cared and knew my broken, hurting heart, even if no one else did. That girl graced me that day, and I've never forgotten it. To be graced means that God reaches out of the heavens and gives you a gift of love, completely undeserved, unearned, but clearly from Him. Every day, there are people in need of God's grace. I'm in need of it. You're in need of it. I want to ask you to think about someone you can grace today. It may be someone in your family, husband, wife, children, parents, a neighbor, a coworker. And as you go about your day, when you come in contact with people, remember that someone may be in the middle of a traumatic emergency and in great need of the grace of God. One of the ways I pay attention to gracing others is through photography and scripture every day. Every morning, I choose one of my images that I've taken with my camera out in God's magnificent creation. And then I choose a verse of scripture that will encourage someone in need and a corresponding excerpt from one of my books. And that's a creative way that the Lord's given me to grace someone else through His power and with His Spirit. So what about you, dear friend? How can you grace someone today? Ask the Lord. He'll show you. Oh Lord, thank you for your grace. Show us how to grace others today. And that's my quiet time for this week. God bless you as you continue on in the great adventure of knowing Him.